Well, hello and welcome to this special broadcast right here on CNBC-TV18. I had the benefit of traveling to the US to engage with the software developer community there. And what struck out for me was the number of Indian developers making their presence felt in the US market. And that picture grows vastly. That number of software developers grows vastly when you're looking at the Indian market. Now, speaking of this software development journey, hoping to partner with them is GitHub. They're bringing in their AI edge as far as software development is concerned. Their tool, Copilot, has been hugely successful, has been a roaring success with the Indian developer community. And to tell us more about it and what this journey ahead looks like for GitHub here in India is with us none other than the Global CEO, Dohmke. Thank you so much for joining us, being a part of this conversation. Let's begin with giving our viewers, for the benefit of our viewers, a broad insight as to what Copilot does for the developer community.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be back in India. The energy is so fantastic. You know, on your question about what is GitHub Copilot is the first Copilot that we developed at Microsoft. It helps developers writing code in the editor. Actually, we didn't think about this as AI. We thought about this, how can we make developers more productive, more fulfilled while doing their work? And so while they're writing their code, you know, it suggests to them the next few lines of code. It helps them explaining code. It helps them, you know, exploring issues with their code and so much more.
That's interesting to hear. So when you talk of getting this AI edge to the Indian developer community, what does that mean? I've read many conversations. I've read some previous interactions and interviews that you've given as well. You speak of the idea of a convergence. The convergence of, number one, the vast talent pool that India has, combined with the AI edge. What does that translate into? What does that mean for India's software development community?
So we have this new technology, AI. You know, it's an exciting time of what we think is a new era. The age of AI is starting. Copilot makes developers 55% more productive. It makes most developers more happy, more satisfied. And we think, you know, AI will help them to build a better world. At the same time, when we look at India, we see a fast-growing market. India today is the second largest community on GitHub with over 15 million developers. But more importantly, it's growing faster than the first contender, the United States, which is today over 20 million developers. And we think by 2027, India will overtake the United States and become the largest developer community on GitHub. So we have these two things, new technology and a growing population of developers that want to build exciting things, and they're going to converge to, I think, make India one of the leaders in this age of AI.
That's interesting, talking about India perhaps being in a sweet spot, so to speak. You mentioned the very large developer population on GitHub, which you understand is likely to grow even beyond the US by 2027. The question I want to ask you is, you're looking to grow this number even more. What I'm talking about, what I'm referring to, is essentially enabling coding in regional languages, in natural languages. Tell us more about that and the impact that's likely to have on the number of coders, developers here in the Indian market, what that is likely to translate into.
One of the most fascinating things about this new technology, large language models, is that they don't only speak source code, they don't only speak programming languages, they also can speak human languages. And they don't only speak English, they can speak German and Hindi, Brazilian Portuguese, or Spanish. And if you think about kids, you know, when they grow up, they often don't grow up with English. That's not their first language unless, you know, they're living in the United States or in the UK. And so, but many kids at age 6 or 7 are fascinated by technology. They probably already had access to mobile phones because their parents handed them one, you know, to get some quiet minute, to play some games, or maybe, explore math and reading and writing. And so by age 6, 7, maybe 8, they're interested to also use these mobile phones and their computers to create something. That's so much part of our human nature. And now, so they can go into Copilot and they can type in Hindi and say, how can I build a snake game or a Pong game, or tell me more about a programming language like Python, and they get a response back that is also in Hindi, right? And so it opens up that world where I can use my human language, the one I grew up with, you know, to learn coding in the same way that I'm learning to play the guitar or learning, you know, to paint a picture, and of course about science and math and all these things that we learn in school. Now, that's not only true for kids, it's also true, you know, for grown-ups, those that maybe have not been in technology At Microsoft, we are supporting Code Without Barriers here in India and elsewhere in the world, where women can learn about coding. And technology today is most often still a boys' club, and so it's hard to enter that club and certainly be the only one that is female and then ask all the questions and fear and have anxiety about getting answers to those questions.
Yep.
Well, Copilot doesn't judge you. It doesn't. You can ask as many questions as you want, and you will get an answer, and you can keep exploring that topic without the help of others. And I think that will unlock so much more creativity. It will enable everybody on this planet, if they want to learn coding.
Interesting. Let me widen the scope of the conversation. You, of course, are at the helm, at the cutting edge of this Gen AI technology, looking beyond just Copilot, looking beyond GitHub, donning your hat as a tech company captain. Give us a sense. We've all been talking about Gen AI. It's clearly the buzzword across the board, across sectors, across industries. I want to get a sense what this technology in your mind could evolve into. So far, we're seeing LLMs, we're seeing travel itineraries being planned, we're seeing study material being analyzed, we're seeing study coaches. This, of course, amongst the use cases that we are seeing now. As this technology gains ground, gains traction, what is the next stage of evolution? What does it look like? What does the next stage of evolution look like? What are some of the other new use cases that we may be looking at?
I think the technology, the Copilot, will develop into a companion that's always with us. You could think about it as the Jarvis to Iron Man in the Marvel movies, something that memorizes all the things that we can't store in our brains because there's too much information in our lives. And today, we already have something like that in our pockets. It's our mobile phone, our smartphone that stores a lot of the information. But then you still have to go into your mail app and search for that one email, that has your frequent flyer number. And instead of finding that, you're finding all the marketing material from that airline. And so you will have that companion that you can ask questions about things that happened to you last month, last year, maybe, in the farther future, what happened to you as a 6-year-old. And so you will have that second brain, that second memory that can reason over that information, that can advise you of what book is the right book to buy in a bookstore. And if you take that into the professional workforce, today with the Microsoft Copilot, we already have capabilities in Teams to summarize a meeting, to identify action items, to log who has said what. And imagine you're coming back from vacation and you have all these Teams chats and meetings that have happened during that time. You can go through those and have it summarize the information for you, so you don't have to read through all of that, because today we have information overload, and every system, every video app, every streaming service, sports, all that is fighting for our attention. And we have only so much time during the day that we can spend on both work and personal life, that these companions will help us to filter out signal from all the noise that is in our lives. I think that is the important thing. It will enable us to be more creative, to use our energy to the things that are really meaningful in life, and get rid of all the noise, whether it's booking travel, whether it's fighting through emails, or summarizing a meeting.
You've given me that hook. I can't let you go without talking more about it. You're saying that this will be the Jarvis, what Jarvis was to Iron Man. Taking that analogy forward, just want to get your thoughts. We also get a lot of dystopian views coming in from Hollywood. Is that an apprehension? Is that something? Or is that creative fiction perhaps only finding its way with this new technology?
I think, the Hollywood view gives us the dystopian future that we don't want to achieve. And as such, it gives us that, how do I say this? It gives us this world that we don't want to go to as a warning to be responsible with AI, to leverage the progress that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis, the high energy that's in the AI world, to also invest into responsible AI, into the ethical use, into the secure use, into data privacy and compliance. And I actually think if you look back to the last year, not only has that topic been on top of mind of many stories in the news and in the media, but it also has been top of mind for almost all companies that are working on AI. And so iteratively, while we're making the models better, we are also evolving our thinking and our technology that helps us to use that AI in a responsible, in a secure way. So I'm actually optimistic that that Hollywood future isn't happening, because as humans, we have that natural tendency of making our lives better. Like we want a better future for ourselves and for our children.
Sure. If there are two coders who can do the job combined with the Copilot Edge, if they can do the job of three, as an IT company C-suite leader, why would I hire the third person? And therefore the question of labor substitution.
Well, first of all, because with AI, there's so many new things that you have to build as a leader. In this age of AI, those companies that are embracing AI will be ahead of the curve, and those that are waiting for too long will be behind, in the same way that we have seen in the past with companies not embracing the internet or not embracing open source or not embracing mobile. They ultimately always got to the point where they had to wake up and realize that now they have to not only get into the technology, they have to catch up to those that have been already investing into this. So I think, number one, we need more developers here in India that work on AI system that move the companies that are embracing the technology forward. Number two is, if I look at software companies, and every company today really is a software company, as software has eaten the world, is that we have so much work to do. Most companies have a long backlog of ideas, of innovation, of brainstorming from a whiteboarding session, that they never get through all these ideas, and they have to cherry pick the things that they can actually do. And then on the other side, they have all the legacy. Many companies, especially in the financial services sector, are still running COBOL code. That's a programming language that was invented during the Eisenhower era in the late 1950s. They're still running that on mainframes, and then they have code from the 60s, 70s, and so on, that they have to maintain, and all of them want to modernize that, because the people that built that code in the 60s, they're long retired. and as such, I think we are all balancing the time we spend on innovation with the time that we spend on our security compliance legacy, modernization backlog, and everybody wants to bring that effort down. And the pile is so big that we both need AI technology to move to the next abstraction layer, to the next, level of capabilities for our developers, while we also need to hire more developers, those that come with new skills like prompt engineering, like machine learning, understanding and building large language models.
Right, Thomas, thanks so much for that. But on that note, let's slip into a very short break. We'll continue this conversation with Thomas from GitHub on the other side.